We discussed the health disparities Hispanic face with securing behavioral health care, issues with access and impacts to families. We also learned about the 50th annual Puerto Rican Day Festival in Vineland, New Jersey. It's all here on the next Latino Motion. Join us.
Choose quality, value, distinction. Choose Stockton.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation, and Stockton University. This edition of Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is brought to you by the HD Studios at the campus of Stockton University. Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare, healthcare you can believe in. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world. And South Jersey Gas. Welcome to Latino Motion, a weekly interview show highlighting issues impacting New Jersey's Latino community while advancing understanding of Latino cultural heritage and contributions to our society. And here is your host, Bert Lopez.
Buenos dias and welcome to Latino Motion. According to research, 1 in 4 individuals living in the United States faces a mental health crisis at one point or the other in their lives. Knowing when to seek professional help and to secure access to behavioral health is a major issue and disparity for the Latino community. Joining me to discuss this issue is Ana Palencia Black. Ana, welcome to Latino Motion.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a privilege to be here tonight to share this passion and this need.
Well, that's a big number. 1 in 4 individuals do face behavioral health. We know that behavioral health, just getting help, it's sometimes a challenge in terms of getting the providers, but it's such a bigger deal with the Latino community. Tell me what the issue is.
That's correct. I'm not going to go into the detail about the statistics that are a few, not enough, but quite a few. But I'm going to mention that the ratio of providers, mental health providers to the population in New Jersey, you get 1 provider for the general population, not for Hispanics, 1 provider per close to 600 people. Mm-hmm. For Atlantic County, which is what matters to us, you get 1 provider for every 800 people. But if you want to find providers for the Hispanic population, it is dramatically less. You find 1 provider for 7,000 people.
And these are, when you're talking about bilingual providers that could tailor their therapy to the Spanish-speaking population.
That are licensed and qualified to address the needs of the Hispanic population.
So very few providers. What does this mean, having so many little providers in the community for the Latino community?
That, for example, I have a beautiful example here. According to some research, non-Hispanic white population comes back for a second session for treatment, for example. And Latino users will come, let's say, for a treatment of depression, and they won't come back for the second session. And you cannot treat depression in 1 session.
So is that because of the longer waits, or just?
It is a combination of things, but according to research also, 80% of this barrier is due to the language barrier. Because of all careers, of all professions, here you have to communicate with the language.
It's hard enough to break the communications barrier when you're not speaking the same language. Yeah. Certainly makes it a lot more difficult.
Impossible. And there are other factors, you know. I was just thinking, to become a licensed provider, it takes 8 or more years going to take your BA, bachelor's degree 4 to 5 years, then you need a couple of years at least, depending what track you follow, a couple more years to get the experience, the master's first. So 1 or 2 years for the master's, and then 2 years
getting qualified is a big issue.
It's a big issue.
Let's talk a little bit about one of your expertise, if you will, which is dealing with trauma, particularly with children. Tell me why that is in the rise, and what is it that you're dealing with?
Yeah, more than being in the rise, the rise is in the awareness. Trauma was not paid attention to, let's say, a decade ago, 15, 20 years ago. It was there, but it was not given attention to. And since this flood of veterans who have come back with PTSD, then a lot of attention and a lot of studies have emerged. And one of the interesting things that has been found is that abused children have the same symptoms as veterans. Abused children and women.
What happens if the trauma, if you will, particularly for young children, is not treated properly?
That has a tremendous impact in their lifetime, because the young brain is getting formed and not developed yet, so they don't have the capacity to address, to cope with the stressors. So the normal and ideal development gets stunted. It can impair learning. It can impair verbal skills. It causes a lot of disabilities, both cognitive, behavioral, and physical disabilities.
So it's very critical not only to get the help quickly, but also to get someone that's specialized in that area. And obviously there are a number of other issues within this disparity. Tell me a little bit what some of the disparities in terms of the culture is concerned.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we have, I should rephrase it, we have a beautiful culture with a lot of strengths and community strengths. We support each other, we're connected with each other, we are emotionally expressive, warm, but at the same time there are some biases that accept and affirm, for example, machismo, and it may appear to be okay, except that it can have an impact on child rearing and domestic violence. But worse than that, alcohol is definitely associated with domestic violence. Authoritarian parenting is another problem. We feel that either father or mother have to have certain authority, and the way we treat children with authority can be crushing to them and can be traumatic, can be scary. If we yell or spank.
This is an important subject to continue to this discussion, particularly with families, and we have another guest who's also going to be joining us to talk more about the families. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics.
Welcome back to Latino Motion. We'll continue our discussion on behavioral health disparities in the Hispanic community with Ana Plasencia Black, and also joining me is Miriam Cifuentes. Ladies, welcome back to Latino Motion.
Thank you so much for having us.
And Miriam, I'm going to start with you. You're a guidance counselor in Atlantic City, so you deal with children and families all the time. And when we're talking about this health disparity, particularly with behavioral health, what are some of the important things the parents need to keep in mind?
Well, I believe that the things that the parents have to keep in mind is that they have to be involved in their children's education. Unfortunately, when the parents come to this country, they come to work, and basically that's what they do, and there's not much time to spend with their kids. And my job as a guidance counselor, part of my job is to support the parents, to guide them, and I also have different workshops that I offer throughout the year where they can learn a little bit of how can they support their kids at home.
which is very, very important. Aside from that, Anna, you know, it could be that the parent is facing depression or other symptoms that impacts the child, and then Miriam has to deal with the child in school is facing those symptoms. What can you tell me about the consequences of parents not getting the help they need?
Well, if anybody who is listening has been depressed, they will understand that when you are in that state, it's very difficult to function. We call functioning your ability to get out from bed, take a shower, do the minimal basic things, let alone taking care of somebody else and giving the child the attention that they need. So, and if there's a parent with schizophrenia, it's impossible to expect that that parent without attention will take care of the child. So it is a critical cycle. You know, the parents have to be well, as Miriam said. The parents need to understand also what they can do, because I completely agree that with Miriam that the parents have to take care of the kids in a global fashion, not only feed them and then criticize what they do wrong because they don't have time. The parents need to learn to play with the child. Play is as important for a child as work is for an adult. In play, the child is able to take control. The child cannot decide at what time to go to bed, what to eat many times depending on the age, or where to go and not to go, but the child can decide how to play. Right. So playing is very important.
Miriam, I know that parent engagement is very important, and there's resources available for parents to become better parents, if you will, and to have those listening skills, even if they don't speak English.
You know, like Anna said, they have a lot of issues, and on top of that, they have to raise a kid with either, you know, they like it or no, either if they feel like it or no, even if they're depressed, if they have issues, situations that they always have. But how to juggle all those roles that as a parent you have to, you have, you know, so that's part of the workshops that I offer, and so to try to help them to deal with.
Certainly, the Atlanta City School System through your services also offers those classes. There's other resources available out in the community as well. There's family resource centers as well. Yes. In Atlanta City, there's one, and throughout southern New Jersey. So there's a number of opportunities for parents, regardless of whether they can read English or speak English or not, are able to get that help. Mm-hmm. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about the community awareness. It's very important to have the community aware of the fact that if there are some issues, mental health issues in the family, that's important to get professional services.
Yeah, thank you. And that is a part of the goal, the mission of NEWMIND Psychology Services. It's a twofold objective. One, to serve directly to clients, so we do parenting as well from a behavioral mental health perspective. So we offer therapy, basically. We offer family treatment. You know, currently we have some clients from Child Protective Services and others, you know, from different avenues. Also, non-Hispanic clients with whom we offer parenting. But I think it is important to raise awareness to the community at large, and especially to the agencies that have the power, the resources to make changes. We want to invite people who are invested in making a difference for the Hispanic community to join us, or to invite us to join them in different efforts to work, to partner, to make a change. The objective and the mission of NEWMIND is precisely to give other providers who are not licensed to do therapy yet, to have the opportunity to train in trauma and to practice providing therapy.
A very useful, well-rounded information you're providing, and certainly we'll put some information up on the screen of where you could get some of those resources.
If I could say just something very important. If the parents that are listening have a child who is misbehaving, we want to encourage them to call Perform Care. We will have the number on the screen. Right. Call Perform Care and request an assessment, because whenever a child is misbehaving, it is because he has diminished psychological capacity to confront and to function appropriately in the face of stressors that may not be perceived by the parents at times.
And it's also a free service. It's free.
We'll certainly share that information. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Yeah. And thank you, ladies, for sharing this information.
Thank you for having us.
And please stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics.
Welcome back to Latino Motion. Violin, New Jersey, once again, is the host of the annual Puerto Rican Festival and Parade, now celebrating its 50th anniversary. Joining me is Leonidas Negron and Ernesto Perez to discuss this year's event. Gentlemen, welcome to Latino Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Bird, for inviting us to Latino Motion.
Listen, 50 years, that's a very big deal. 50 years of a wonderful organization. Tell me what this means for the community.
That means the community had for 50 years worked together to celebrate that culture, heritage, and culture. For 50 years, we celebrate the cultures. That means we, together, the community.
It's really about working together, right? To last that long for 50 years, it does take a community effort. I know you started as a young man, age 18, so you've been involved with it for a long time.
I told you I was starting when I was 18 years old.
And I know you have another young man who's joining you, who's also engaged. And why is it so important to have the youth in the Latino community
I think
involved?
It's very important, because who else is going to carry it on in the future? Eventually, the ones who said it before us, they pass on, right. And someone has to pick up the torch and keep going, because this will not stop at 50. We'll make 100, 150, 200, and we'll keep going.
Very important. So pass it on generation to generation. Let's talk about the big event, which is July 30th. It's the big parade and festival. We're going to go back and talk about the things leading up to it. But the big event, Sunday, July the 30th, is the Puerto Rican Parade and Festival taking place in Landis Park.
Well, the July 30th, that's the Puerto Rican Parade dedicated to Utuado, Puerto Rico this year.
Okay.
Why we dedicate Utuado, Puerto Rico? Because the first people who joined in 1950, it was the Utuado.
Oh, okay.
And then there was the Utuado citizen, there was the foundation, the Puerto Rican Festival. Oh. That's what happened this year.
So going back and celebrating a little bit of that history again. Let's talk about some of the things leading up to it, and let's start with the 22nd. That's Saturday, and that's the banquet. What do we expect in that event?
Well, we have a giant banquet to kick off this tremendous week, and that brings everyone from the community together. We're going to have wonderful food, wonderful music. Everyone can dance and have a great time, and we can all be Puerto Rican together.
And then we'll go on to the 23rd, Sunday, and we have a couple of flag raising ceremonies.
Yeah, Sunday we're going to have the first flag raising ceremony in front of the City Hall, celebrate the 50 years. We're going to celebrate Monday the flag raising ceremony on Mirror City Halls, and one in the Bristol, New Jersey.
Okay. So the big cities that have a lot of Latinos in Cumberland County. Then you have a senior day, and you have a Women's Day on the 26th. Tell me about the Women's Day.
Well, we have so many strong women in the Spanish community that we want to honor them. But unfortunately, heart disease and diabetes run rampant in our community. So we want to give these women an opportunity to come out and get moving, get active for free, because we care about their health in the future. The healthier that they are, they can pass it on to the rest of their family.
Yeah, very important. So the caregivers often don't take care of themselves, right?
Exactly.
Let's talk about the youth. And I know you have another event also on Thursday, the 27th. Tell me about that event.
Yes, from 4 to 6, we're going to have our Kids Day, and we're going to bring out an animal show. There'll be alligators, snakes. We're also going to have games and crafts. We understand that these kids can't make it out to Disney because their parents work so hard. Some can't afford to make that trip. So we want to bring the fun to them for free.
No, that's a great thing, certainly. And rides and everything else is taking place there. And you also have something for the older teens as well later on.
Absolutely. A lot of our teens have to start working so early because they have to help support the household. So we recognize that they can't go out and pay for entertainment in Philadelphia or Atlantic City. So we want to give them a great night safely here in Vineland, New Jersey for free.
Well, thank you for sharing this information. Again, the event is July the 30th. It's the big parade, but we have a whole series of activities, and we'll put up the information up on the screen if someone wants more information on this event. It's all free to the community.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us, and thank you for joining us at home once again here on Latino Motion.
Choose quality, value, distinction. Choose Stockton.
Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare, healthcare you can believe in. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world. And South Jersey Gas.